Hello. Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I was literally driving up here, cruising in the best mood ever.
On the street in my
Right.
Because we finna turn up. So, how has it been so far, cousin?
It has been good. Thanksgiving was just 2 days ago. So I really made the intention to focus on family and just being present in the moment. And I feel like by the grace of God, I was successful.
Amen,
So I had a good holiday. What about you?
I had a great holiday. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was so fun. I'm used to hosting now, Thanksgiving, but this year it was just me and Dominique, and my dad and his stepmom and aunts came over to pick up their food. We had friends over. It was almost like a small like Friendsgiving, and I was happy. I wasn't stressed or anything.
Wow. That's one thing, because Thanksgiving, any holiday could be stressful.
Truly, and it just is amazing that it just went by so swiftly. Now the hard work, that was different. I was prepared.
What post did you put on Facebook? What did you say on Facebook?
Oh, the granny's tired, both days tired.
No, and you was.
They was, cause I was tired. I was in this nail salon when I heard an elder talking about it, and she was like, "I'm tired. I'm just preparing early." She said, I'm not gonna get my hands done, but I need to get my feet done because I'm gonna be on my feet." And I was like, "Oh my God, it is working, Granny, already."
Yeah, I already know my mom was tired, child.
Truly. But we are also here to discuss Raw Place. So,
Cousin, what is Raw Place?
Raw Place is for women, of course, who have to be authentically themselves the way God sees fit. And of course, life is a journey and a process. So, we're going to be growing together and building each other up. Iron sharpens iron just as well as people sharpen people. And it's also a place where we can be vulnerable, our most vulnerable self, to be able to address our issues and things that we need help with, as well as being a resourceful place. So each woman, of course, has their own career, the things that they like to do. And we often think that we don't have community or someone that's like us. So by us having this community, we'll be able to rely on each other and be a resource for the younger generation to be able to know that they don't have to do it by themselves, that they can see other women doing it together, as well as having the support that they need to continue to be them.
I feel like it feels like we have enough spaces, but I know we don't enough spaces to do what you're doing. So I'm just happy to be part of it, to be honest.
God, yes. It's definitely been a process, because in that you have to own it, and you have your own set of insecurities, of course, that the world puts on you, or that you put on yourself because of what you think based on circumstances. But as you get closer to God, from what I've come to realize, is that He renews us, He helps us have a better mind. And that, for me, has gotten me through a lot of dark times. A lot of things that I don't often even talk about with people, which is why it led me to even want to have Raw Place for women. So I learned how to be vulnerable, and that in turn became my greatest strength.
Well, yeah, I love the term raw, because that's all that I could truly be. Like, it's just honest. So I'm just excited to just really talk and just finally just be free and not really feel constrained. So yeah,
So what does Raw Place mean for you?
So honestly, Raw Place, I just think of the word raw. Like, I love how it's centered around vulnerability and having honest conversations so we can press forward. I feel like a lot of our days, especially if we were working a lot or just in less spaces where we're with people who are comfortable to us, we deserve to be in space in a safe space where we can talk openly about our experiences and share the hard stuff that makes it difficult to like face on our own.
Right.
So, and that's literally been like the epitome of our relationship. It's just like, let's just talk about it.
Right.
Let's just address the hard stuff and let's just see
around it.
exactly, and let's see what God says about it. Because I've noticed that, you know, with having honest conversations, you get honest feedback. You get, hopefully, you know, most of the time, and you can tell when it's just raw. So it just kind of, the energy just bounces back and forth, and I just really appreciate it. Yeah, that's what it means to me.
So a part of me even like wanting to do this, of course, is because not only was I feeling led to it, but we always talk about mental health, and that has always been a big part for me. How has mental health played a part for you?
Well, that is my job. A part of my career is being a mental health therapist. So it all started literally with just curiosity when I was younger, and just being curious about humans in general and how we were all different, and just how we looked and how we walked, how we talked. It just started off with curiosity, but then, you know, later on down the line, as I got to experience some hardships or just watching and listening to other people's hardships, I'm like, wow, like how we perceive the world really does have an impact on, you know, how we move on a daily basis. Like as simple as like what we decide to eat, as simple as what choices we make in the day, plays a huge part in our mental health. And, you know, as I got through grad school, didn't even learn in grad school, mostly after grad school, I realized that the very hard things that we go through, especially in our childhood or maybe even later on, has a big impact on our livelihoods, and so in our mental health. And I'm just really feel like I'm in my passion, I'm in my field, but just even when it comes to like my own mental health, I just stay on top of it as best as I can, but also blunder and don't. And I see the impacts of my life when I don't. And so I think reflecting is just really cool how the body works in general, right. But also, and you hear me talk about that all the time. Like I just love it. It's just so fascinating how the body can literally shut down because you're mad, or just like get keyed up when you're anxious. It's just all of that is just really interesting to me. But mental health means everything to me, I guess. That's my lens of the world. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I see myself through that lens. I see others through that lens, and I really just process a lot of my life through that lens of mental health. So
definitely. Now, in terms for me, of course, my mom made it like very clear early in life that I needed to go to counseling and therapy and those things because of trauma, but also because she suffers with mental health. And growing up, it was definitely difficult, especially when you don't address certain things. And me and my mom have always had an honest relationship, and we were open to have these conversations. But like, it never occurred to me until I got older, like how much is necessary to actually talk about what's bothering you.
Yeah.
And like when you don't talk about it, those feelings turn into something completely different. And
many things.
It's like over time, like you said, you carry it in your body, and it's like it show up in like in your face and your weight, like. And I just never wanted to not ever address what was on my mind or how I felt about something, because Yeah, I'm not holding on to that. I like to be happy.
Right.
I like to be free. I like to just be me, and yeah, I can't do that.
I mean, and the crazy part is that it's actually hard to share that and to be open about it.
But
Like-
I wasn't.
You said what?
But I wasn't.
It wasn't for you?
No, like it took me a while, right? So like in teenage years, of course, you know that's when you like a rebel,
Right.
and you like you don't really care. I didn't really care, but I just didn't like how certain things played out when you don't stand up for yourself.
Right. Got it.
And that made me want to stand up for myself. Like, even if you think a way of me, like, it doesn't matter because that's not how I feel about myself. But
You
it's
learned
like,
that early.
right, but it's like at the same time, you know, they say words don't hurt you, but they do.
Yeah.
Because they stick to you. Like, you can remember the meanest thing that somebody said to you and play it back in your mind 100 times because that hurt your feelings. And essentially, like, I'm not gonna let you just say anything to me, but I also have learned how to be gentler and kinder in my approach and how I talk to people and when I am standing up for myself, because there is a time and place, and some people are just going through whatever they have going on in their life and project, and you have to be able to see the difference between the two.
Right.
And for me, God has shown me that difference between the two and how it looks.
Yeah, definitely should speak for myself because it's hard for me, but that's why I just love studying humans in general, because like it wasn't hard for you to speak out. It was just more of like your quote unquote battle, or one of the things that you and God worked on together was just making it calmer, gentler, and more receivable.
Or in my approach.
Right. And for me, my journey looks completely different with vulnerability and just being raw in general, but like I'm still in the thick of it, you know. Just the fact that I'm even on this podcast and just being willing to talk about what I'm specifically talking about today is just it's a challenge. No, and like, but this is what we're called to do. We're called to like challenge ourselves and do it even though it's hard. So I guess just sharing, if anyone's struggling with just opening their mouth and talking about the hard stuff, like, you can do it.
Truly.
But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying though.
Now for us, of course, we are family, so
Yes.
we have, you're my cousin on my dad's side. And so that our we talk about it often, where we talk about the different levels and things of that nature. So like when we initially met, we were teenagers.
Yes.
And we were in high school. So of course we were going through the things that preteens and teenagers go through often. But for us, we kind of knew like what we wanted to do. Like you told me then, like we wanted to be in therapy, like psychology. We used to talk about it often. And I know we come from two different backgrounds, but like we've always shared similarities, especially when it comes to writing and us having a spiritual conversation. And earlier in the year, we did find out that we both have this mantle being passed on to us, and from our grandmothers. And we discovered that your grandmother wrote as well.
Yeah.
And I just found that so fascinating because now, of course, I live in the house, and it's like it applies to us so much because that's how we get our feelings out. That's how we talk to God.
Yeah.
And how has that been with that realization?
With the realization of the mantle being passed?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, you helped me. Let me just tell them the story, first of all. Yeah, because, so my grandmother passed away, Grandma Tony passed away April 21st, and had the funeral May 4th. And Dejanique was there, of course. We had a separate Airbnb for all of the cousins, so like everyone our age or younger was over there. And actually, you heard me speak at my grandma's funeral, and I don't remember a lot because you know how it be with the emotions, but I do remember making a point of saying, you know, ever since she passed, there's been this energy for me to take a stand or something of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And later on that night, Dejanique was like, I'm gonna do your hair. Just like how she's doing now, literally. I'm gonna do your hair. And we're having a conversation on the porch. And she was like, yo, I heard exactly what you said when you were speaking. And that's exactly how I felt when my grandma passed. And you actually, you're so funny. You ran to you be so excited.
I do be goofy.
You be so excited. She ran to her her car, got 5 different journals that she's completed. Because we both realized that we both write
so
much. Got like 5 or 6 journals, and then got her Bible and read a scripture. Maybe you can put, I don't know if you know by heart.
Clips that. Yes.
Yeah, but it was basically about, I don't even know
it was Elisha and Elijah.
Yeah, and basically just passing a cloth down, like when an elder, how I interpret it, how I feel it now. I mean, this may not be all the way like accurate, but how I read it then was that an elder is, you know, passes down their passions or their talents down to the people who are next. And I literally have the same journal entry in my phone, not in a journal, but in my phone, of me writing like, I feel this energy that I have more pressure, I have more responsibility than I've ever had before. What is going on? Meanwhile, grieving in real time, but actually journaling this energy that I was having. And so for Dejanique to kind of introduce that back to me, because at that time I also wasn't in faith. And so I actually will mark that was the day my faith came back and started to bloom again, was having that conversation, because it just felt too real, too convenient, too coincidence, not convenience, coincidence, yes. And I was like, okay, and we just really talked it out. And so since then, that was in April of this year, so we're in the end of the year.
Yes.
I have been thrown through the loops, okay? Like, just having to address a lot, having to basically stepping up to the plate of like owning my womanhood.
Yes.
Which is really hard, because I just want to be a 16-year-old girl forever and have semi responsibilities. Like, I just want to be in charge of doing the dishes, okay?
Like,
but now
too much pressure.
No, literally. And now I'm finding myself thinking of how I can serve my little cousins, how I can make their world safer, what my mom needs, planning my own life around making sure that my family is safe, you know, which made me think that, because I was thinking like, maybe I can settle in North Carolina, settle in the Midwest, whatever my mind was racing, but then it just literally narrowed down to, you're gonna live in Jacksonville, Florida. And I didn't fight it, because that's where all of my family is, but those were the kind of decisions that I was being led to, because of this new pressure of like family. And it's not bad pressure, like I don't feel like I'm being pure, it's not nothing like that, but just more of like
a calling.
Yeah, like a calling, like just a pressure cooker, like you're in the pressure cooker and like something good about to come out of it.
It's gonna be good.
Exactly. It's just like that.
It's like, it's slow cooking.
Yeah.
It's marinating, the seasoning, it's tossed on. Girl.
Look, I'm thinking about them oxtails my mom be making in the pressure cooker.
Okay, like
exactly.
Listen.
That's how good, and that's how good it's
gonna be and is.
Right. And so that's just how it the word is pressure.
Right, but pressure makes diamonds.
Yes, it does.
Pressure does a lot. It gives you release. And for me, like, today actually is November 30th. And my grandma actually transitioned this day. So it's like you said, it's not a coincidence that things like this happen. God is very
and we did not plan to meet. Well, like
we
on
planned,
this day,
but we didn't. I didn't recall.
Yeah,
because I wasn't. Honestly, grief for me is not the traditional grief where you go, you just cry all the time. Like at one point, me and my grandma did not have a good relationship, and I won't say good. We weren't close, and I personally grew to have the relationship that I had before she transitioned because of my husband and his relationship with his grandmother. And I'm very grateful that he was able to let me know that, you know, you have to build relationship with your elders. And I didn't know it then because, of course, I wasn't immature, but I was immature and naive. So now that I have the understanding I have now is that your elders pass down certain knowledge, certain wisdom, certain things that you may not know just based on where you fall in your bloodline or what generation you come up in. And it's like for me, by me having the conversations that I did with my grandmother, I got to learn a lot. I had to learn, like, my grandmother is not from New York, and I used to think that she was for so long because of how old she is. My grandmother was 94 when she transitioned, so she spent from 18 to 94 in New York, and that for me was like, you left your hometown in Hugie, South Carolina, to move to a whole nother state. And back then, of course, because if we do the math, it's like age-wise, she's going through different things with segregation and racism, especially in the Deep South. So it's like colorism is a thing, an issue. You know, you never know like why you do certain things, and it's because like that was passed down.
Yeah.
And you didn't know because you didn't have that conversation or don't nobody talk about it, and it gets swept under the rug. And it's like, I got to have those real conversations with my grandmother. We got to have Bible talk, as I call it, where we talk about God and Jesus. And at one point, she always used to say, like, I just want my family to have a relationship with God. And again, I didn't understand what that meant because, of course, when you grow up in church, you just know, okay, this is what you taught. But as I moved away from Florida with my husband at the time, my fiance, I had this urge to want to be in a church family. Like, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going wrong, but I need this. And from that time, which is also, again, around the same time that I started to build this relationship with my grandmother, that came about. And now it's like, that's the most pivotal point that I can recall of like this change happening. Like when stuff started really taking a hold and making form in the natural light. Now the process, now the real work has started, and it did. And now it's like, I missed having those talks with her, but I'm in a position now where I get it. I understand the authority that you have to have is not by your own power and strength, but it's because of that intimate relationship with God. Yeah. That you can be able to speak on certain things, that you can be able to talk about this type of conversation, because you have to be able to have that power, that mindset that Christ has, and be humble and humility. And it's like, I used to be like, she's taking so much. But it's like, no, she knew what power she had and where she stood with God and what she was believing for, and that started manifesting in me. Yeah. And when they say your grandmother's prayers last for a lifetime, they need that. They need that.
Exactly. So your grandmother was just wishful that her family connected to God.
Yes.
Yeah. My grandma was very, I like to say rough around the edges, just because I feel like that's how I can be too. I feel like I feel like that's how I kind of describe different parts of myself. But other people in the family describe her as like rough around the edges, but just also very practical and very hard. But no, actually, and because we're all complex beings, she was always the first one to lend out an extending hand. Right. Which to me is very admirable, just because you can hold both at the same time, and she did. and it confused a lot of people because she would always be the one to say like, don't leave your purse out when people are here, just very much keeping me on edge and to like always like be watching my back. Like there's so many things, many of the things she's said to me, all the lessons that she's given to me has always been to protect myself.
Yeah, that's definitely going.
But I had to learn soft-heartedness from her actions rather than what she was actually telling me, because there were two different things, which was really interesting. So I loved hearing how you were able to have like deep conversations with her before she transitioned, because that's one of the things I wish I had. It's crazy because the year before I felt like we were calling each other more and we were having more, like she was hosting a class in this house,
yes,
with like her friends, and she was teaching them all about like conspiracies, but they weren't conspiracies to her, but just conspiracy like conversations, but then also doing like Bible studies and stuff. So she was very much a teacher, very much a leader, a woman, and she just seemed like she was the anchor in a lot of people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I think with that pressure, I've been finding out that I'm similar. I'm growing my little mini anchor, that will eventually like thicken and get bigger as time goes on and I go through more challenges. But it's all in the blood. I mean,
it definitely
is. Just in the blood. And at the end of the day, when I get on the phone and I say hello and then family members calling, they don't know if it's me, my mom, or my grandma. So it's just...
That's definitely, and your mom is definitely a giver,
mm-hmm.
and she cares about family and tradition, mm-hmm. and just keeping the closeness, togetherness, and I love that.
Yeah.
That's how our family has always been, but it's not one individual person.
I mean, it's a combination of everything,
right?
Everyone, and everyone plays a role and a part.
And that, I love that about our family, because that essentially also shows the body of Christ too, and that also helps us not overplay our part or position in people's lives, and we know when we kind of doing too much.
Yeah.
And we have to fall back.
Well, I'm still learning how to not do too much, but I'm happy that other people...
Hey, the art of letting go, right? Like,
right, no, literally. I mean, and that's its own process, and I agree. I mean, our family isn't like, I love how we can get together when it's needed. I love how we show up for people when it's needed, and that's something I've noticed even at grandma's funeral. Maybe that's something you noticed at your grandma's funeral, so...
Now, this is two different sides. So, like, my mom's side and my dad's side does not operate the same way. And I'm sure a lot of our families don't, but that goes back to the different levels of which we're on and what we're willing to change and unlearn and grow into. And it's not all bad because it shows up in different ways. It's not the same for everybody, but I think that on my dad's side, we accept each other a little bit more, and we don't enable each other, not to, make ruffle anybody's feathers, but that's just the difference that I've seen with my personal relationships with people. Of course, individually that's different, but as a collective, as a whole.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm even reflecting now, and I don't remember ever having such any crazy things happening. Our family's just very like, let's just show up and do what we gotta do,
right? Like, hey, okay, somebody's in trouble, okay, what we need to do, what da 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 da, like, and that, like, we just step in. And essentially, like, for my dad's family, like his immediate people, like his siblings and stuff, they have a family house. Like, everybody has lived in that family house. Everybody's like, whenever something has happened in life in general, like, there is a place that you can come to. There's never a time where, like, you not too down bad where you don't got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like, so you got somewhere to be. You might not like it, but you got somewhere to be if you need it. And I love that about our family. That definitely has probed me to help people and especially people who are of need. But I had to learn and also let go of the fact that you can't help everybody. Everybody's not your assignment. Everybody isn't for you to help. Mm-hmm. We're all called to do different things. We're all called to be there for different people. But you will know, because there won't be any confusion.
Mm-hmm. And that's I like to say those types of skills, or like there won't be any confusion if you know. Those are skills. I like to think of it that way because it takes time I've noticed, to like really be able to tell the difference of like when you're confused and when it feels right, when you're aligned. Because it's like, I don't know, should I give this person this, or should I preserve myself? Is this a season for preservation, or is this a season for giving out? Or like just trying to figure that out. But I think the closer you get with God, I think
He definitely tells you.
Yeah, like your intuition you learn that it doesn't ever steer you wrong. And I always like to say it when I talk to my clients, I'm like, intuition, you can call it your intuition, but some people like to call it God, aka me. Like I call my
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, like whatever helps you connect more closer to something other than you, which I feel like intuition is separate. So yeah, we have I feel like we've learned a lot from just being a part of our family. Mm-hmm. Not even learn, but just
we were born into it. Like,
yeah.
That's just how that's in us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating, and especially when you grow out and you venture out into the world, and you see, like, you're not judging, but you see, like, okay, this is the difference between how we're raised and how other people are raised. Like, everybody doesn't have it, and that's where the blessing is. You become a blessing to other people, because that love or that skill or whatever it is, that gift, that talent is used to help somebody else get closer to God, or help them to be able to develop what He called them to do. And it's fascinating how it all works together, and we love to think that it doesn't, but it does, and we just have to continue on our journey to see that through. Yeah, because it's not completed until we transition. I agree. So we're gonna vibe check how we feel.
Vibe check. I feel grounded. Actually, I'm gonna share my raw first answer that came to mind. I barely even know what this means, if I were to be honest, and I'm gonna be vulnerable about that. The first word that came to mind was anointed.
Anointed? Ooh, why anointed?
I don't know. Tell me. I think anointed, from my own personal knowledge, it feels chosen. Something about it feels chosen, or like something about it feels favored. I have a tendency to use words that also don't necessarily match the definition that I'm thinking of in my head, but
you get that feeling.
No, it's a feeling, and I hope people got what I'm putting down. But yeah, I feel really good to be in this space and talking about this and hearing even what you got to say. And I see the value in talking about family. So what about you? What's your vibe?
My vibe is great. I'm very excited that I even get to do it. I tell you all the time, like, I'm coming into my own and really truly embracing it. Like, even down to me doing hair, like, that's something that was passed down in our bloodline. Like, my grandmother told me about, like, how her great uncle, I have it written down, so I might not be giving very accurate points, but he had, like, one of the first barbershops in Summerville, South Carolina, and it's like, everybody does hair. Like, from what I know, my mom did hair when I was growing up. She was like the neighborhood hairstylist. My sister went to school for a bit. My brother learned barber school at one point. Like, my little cousin Lucci, she does hair now in college. Like it's just it runs in our family, and I just love what I get to do, even if it's not full time. And me learning how to just be in this space and starting to open up and share. It's a new season.
Am I allowed to ask you a question?
Yeah.
Start off words with the right question word, but do you feel like you knowing that you come from a family line of hairstylists, does that make you feel more settled in your passion?
Yes, now. But growing up, I initially started doing, I learned how to do hair when I was 9. So my aunt, which is near and dear to me, she brought me that for Christmas one year. And I actually found out because I asked her this earlier in the year. So it's very funny that you asked that question anyway. But she told me that she bought it for me when I was a little girl. And at that time, like, I didn't have my mom in my life the way that I wanted to have my mom in my life due to, again, mental health and other circumstances like drugs and alcohol. And I had a stepmom, which I call my nana, and she took me in, so her family, essentially also took me in, and they cared for me like their own. And like, she saw this need for me to just be a girl. And I started doing hair on the mannequin. It was a Bratz doll. And
the classic,
right?
Bratz
Big lips, big head.
doll.
And it was like, I just wanted to feel closer to my mom at that time because I didn't have her with me every day. And then my stepmom, saw what I was able to do on this doll head, and I started doing their hair. And at the time they were CNAs, so they would go to work, and it's like, I would be like, now I'm looking at it like, I used to be able to do hair like that, and I couldn't even like bring myself to like genuinely like it because it was just me using it as a substitute to not have, because I didn't have my mom. But when I became like a teenager, that was something that I just did when I'm asked, or like my little cousin at one point lived with us at the family house, and that was my first like job essentially. That's how I got my phone bill paid.
Wow.
Like doing hair. So like me.
So it was like a need, right? It helped you like
it was a
get
need
stuff
first.
done, but then now, like the way I hear you talk about it now is just so.
It's like I'm meant to do it, and I definitely see why. But then I would have never like
put two and two together.
I would have never been like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. When I was in school, that I could have been certified or licensed or whatever, but I didn't have that confidence. I didn't feel that this is what I needed to do because the world tells you, oh, you gotta go to school, or you gotta be this, or you gotta be that. And it's like, we grew up in the era of social media. We've literally seen people blow up on Vine, are millionaires now. People on YouTube make videos and they're millionaires now. And it's like, I didn't have that same confidence then. Like, but that's me trusting God and building my relationship with Him. For it to all come together the way that it did.
It kind of reminds me that passing the mantle takes time.
That is so true.
Like, I think people our age, or I'm going to say this, but me too, are so pressed about making sure that we're in our purpose right now. But it's a constant unfolding. It's not like my purpose is, because I mean, I've always known I want to be a therapist. That was like the first job that came to mind when I was like 10, 9, you know, but that wasn't my purpose. My purpose wasn't to be a therapist. And I'm learning this year.
Yes.
I've worked for this job, this career for so long, which is a privilege within itself to feel aligned with a specific career and to just go for it. But the purpose is so much bigger than just me being a therapist. It's deeper. It's teaching. It's healing. It's pouring into people. It's knowing what people need in these types of times, and you know, that's not a lot of information that people have, and not even just information, but just gifts. So
and being black at that,
yeah,
and that not being a privy thing that people are even interested
literally,
in doing.
yeah, and it feels like a blessing. Like, I specialize in women of color specifically, and the way in which I feel when I'm able to just be in space with these women and with these black women who I don't know, but it's really hard to find a space that you can feel vulnerable in. And some of these women, it's the first time they're crying in front of a stranger or talking about certain things. And, you know, for me to be the holder of that and to make space for that is just, I feel like I'm doing a very deep work with God. So it's a constant unfolding, because I wouldn't have been able to say that even while I was in grad school or even in college. So,
and how is it now, like, that you have to process, like, carrying other people's, you know, feelings, and how do you release that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's hard. I think just the structure of my job makes it difficult, because I do see a lot of people in a week, but in itself, I understand, like, my higher self knows that it's a huge blessing, but then my human self, you know, who also has bad days, who also can be anxiety riddled, makes it really hard to be present all the time or to just make space for myself. I was literally on the phone with my friends on the way here, and I was telling him, I'm like, honestly, everybody who keep calling me, I don't want to answer. Like, I talked to 8 clients today. You think I want to hear this too? Which, granted, I love my friends. I prioritize friends over a lot, actually. And the fact that I was thinking of just not wanting to just talk to them anymore just shows how much space I'm making for other people. And so when I am on my own, not at work, I need that, how to connect with myself here, you know, because empathy is really being in someone else's world, rather than, like, so I'm in someone else's world for 8 hours a day, and at the end of the day, I have myself. I need to tap back in with me. And how I've been releasing that, I don't even know if it's a release anymore. It's more of like a decompress. Like, how do I just allow all of what I've heard, the hard stuff, the good stuff, everything that's not mine, just seep out of my body. And it really does, and I learned this from you, is just connecting with God throughout the day. Like, I was just doing my little quiet times in the morning and calling it a day, running at the end of the day, but I noticed that speaking to him and having quiet time with him at lunch, when a client doesn't show up, after work, you know, praying over my food, like,
just little things,
stretching in my room with one candlelight, like, just a sense of peace, and that's taken me a while to get to a point where I feel confident in my self-care routine, but it's still not perfect. I'm tired right now. So yeah, but I've learned a lot with how to take care of myself and to separate what's not mine.
That was such a struggle for me.
Was it?
It was so bad at one point. Like, taking on other people's problem is like,
and yeah,
it's like, it's good to help, but like you said, you have to have a balance. And at one point, like, I did not have a balance. Like, I could not separate the two. Like, it was merged together, and I was losing myself.
Yeah.
Like, even though I was helping, I was, you know, doing the work. At least that's what I thought I was doing in my mind.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. Like, I'm annoyed. Like, nothing I really truly want is happening. It was like, it felt like suffering. And we talk about this all the time, the fruits of the spirit, the fruit of the spirit. And it's like, I didn't have that. Like, the patience, I have patience, but sometimes the patience that I think I'm having in that situation is like I feel like I'm exploding. Like, I feel like I'm just like, oh my God, like, why? Just why? But then that helped me over time learn, like, people feel safe with you. Like, that's not, that just, like, people just don't feel safe with anybody. Like, if they come to you, it's because they know that they can, like, talk to you. But, like, I'm also not one of them people that, and I know I may look like it, but I'm not one of the people that just let you just do whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I wouldn't want you to let me do whatever.
And you know how it felt when you just let people do whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, it is accountability.
Yeah.
Is important, and for me, the only reason why I know accountability the way that I do is because I grew up by myself. I didn't have people to like point the blame to or say like, oh, this person didn't clean up or whatever. Like, I had to own that. But it's like, I don't know a certain part of me because I haven't been around this family or a certain part of my family for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm missing a piece. And that piece I didn't gain until I moved to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it helped me to see myself in a different perspective that I didn't see myself before I moved there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is growth.
Yeah, it is, for sure. It really, really, really is.
So now I'm just seeing whatever God has for me, whatever that looks like. Like, He's changed my life this year. And in more than one way than I can even like explain it. I can't explain everything, but like, you've been along with me on this process, especially since I've been back home. And what I know now is like, yeah, God is done playing with His children. Like, He wants us to have that harvest. He wants us to have the things that we long for, but He wants us to be in the right position, the right heart posture to receive those things, to not, and that thing that we're longing and hoping for, not change us. Still giving Him credit, still giving Him His just due, because without Him, we're nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I'm glad that my relationship with my grandma taught me that.
Is where to put your heart, or
where to put your trust in your faith.
And your heart posture. You were saying, yeah. When you said that before, you know, it reminded. I think we were literally sitting at the table, and you told me about heart posture, and I was thinking a lot of like, what did I say? I said something about is making sure my heart is right in the right place, basically, and the hard work. I remember you freaking out about it. Yeah.
That was a couple months ago. The hard work is the hard work is the hard work.
Yes, and I was telling you, this is hard work. People don't. I was just going on a rant. I was like, people are doing the hard work. Oh my God! Like, meanwhile, I'm the one not doing. But like, we're doing hearing. No, yes, and then you're like, hard work, and then you just kept repeating it, and I'm like, oh, that's really all that it is. It's not hard. It can be difficult. It can be challenging. But it's just doing work on the heart, and that takes vulnerability and allowing people to see your heart. And what that means is me telling my friend telling me that sometimes he can be arrogant. To me, that's showing your heart. Or
confessing your sins.
Or someone saying, even some things you even shared earlier today, like just with family, some things that are not necessarily public information, right? Like sharing it because it's your heart, putting it out on the line, you know, hoping that God will fix it, praying it to Him, giving it to Him, and hoping that He'll mold it into something else. And He does.
He do.
Every time. Yeah. So
write it down and make it plain.
It'll take, and I like to see things as like little battles. Like, He'll put me through a battle so to test me, and not in a way that's gonna make me fail, but
in a way that's gonna make you see.
Exactly, see and grow. And so
And who
that
wants
heart
to
posture
keep doing that
is
lesson
everything. Exactly.
over and over again?
And especially when you know that if you were to just submit and sacrifice whatever little want that you want to not have this little thing fixed, you
Just
get
for a small period of time.
Yeah.
At that.
I mean, sometimes even longer.
Yeah.
I know people go on journeys, whole lifetimes to feel a certain feeling, but you know, just the gift and the consequence of sacrificing your desires is so much greater than what we're trying to keep close. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I've even just to go back to my grandma's writings, you know, you're with me when we're reading it and the stuff that she was writing. She wrote different than I wrote Dear Diary type stuff, you know, like
or Dear Abba Father.
Right,
She
Dear
was
God.
just getting the information and writing.
When I tell, I wish y'all could see it, but just imagine a copy piece of paper, line by line, just different bars. You know what I'm saying? Like things like
some things don't even apply to each other.
Right, and it's just like
God have been talking to you all day.
Yeah, like, you could just tell she was just in constant conversation with God, and I think reading her writings made, and even just being with Dejanique, I could be in conversation with God more. You know, I could let him be in my life and allow him to lead me, because I feel like my grandma was a very blessed woman. She was grateful. She had people dropping stuff off all the time. She had always
that since I've been here.
She always had what she needed. Even that's my mom's like. My mom always getting free stuff. Like, did she tell you about how the AC got fixed here?
Yeah, I was here.
Like, giving her just a discount, and just she just, and I know that they're only like that because they put others before themselves, and which is just what we're talking about, like that balance of like knowing when to say no, but also knowing what it means to be a servant.
Right. And that takes time.
Yeah, that takes time.
And building that relationship, because it's not overnight.
But then even if you struggle with that balance, you know, just seeing how they were blessed, God will take care of you, you know?
Right.
In like the most oddest ways. You think you want lottery, but he's just giving you a free meal, or your friend just invited you for dinner instead.
Just something
like something
you don't even realize that you want.
Needed or wanted. Yes, exactly.
Like, right, what I can say, especially with us writing all the time, the fact that, like, even how me living here came about. Like, I told you how I wrote it down, made it plain. Like, I was in a dark time in the last 2 years, especially just within my marriage, within my relationships with my family. Like, the battle between what I wanted and what was happening, and like, you know, like you said, us having this journey with God. It's like, I'm like, God, I see you. I know that you're real. I feel you. I'm here. But this not looking too shabby, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't. It took me to have to remove myself, like, completely. And I didn't even want to really remove myself, but it literally left me with no choice, like, surrendering all down on my knees, like, giving it all to God, because it's like, God, I can't take this no more. Like, I know I'm not supposed to be living like this. I don't want to live like this. Like, I want to live the way that you see fit for me living. Like, me surrendering that to him and writing it down in my journals, and now having that physical evidence of him changing my life, and me having, like, other people around to witness it. It's like, that's incredible. Like, I'm not even doing nothing other than all I know how to do. And it's like, my church family definitely has helped me with this journey, because of course, you know, you go to churches, but you don't find, like, sometimes you don't find your place, right? And you feel like you're searching for that place. And a lot of times, especially, like, even with Raw Place, it took me to build my relationship with God for me to really even be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, who finna try to build a women's center? Like, I don't know nothing about no women's center. I don't know nothing about no podcast. I don't know nothing about this, but I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I want what you want from me, even if that, you know, is something that I never seen, but that involves me being closer to him, to hear what that is. And it's like, me writing gets that out all the time.
Yeah,
every single
writing
time.
has, because when you're writing and what it sounds like for you, you were able to take your woes to him, take your anger and take your frustrations, and he heard it. He said heard every time. And that's exactly how writing has been for me. Like, I've been writing. I just got a new journal in October. I finished it yesterday, and it's November 30th.
Like, sir,
Not
like,
even to,
like, what are you saying to me, sir?
You know, and a lot of it is just conversations with him, and a lot of it is my own personal thoughts of like what's going on, and a lot of gratitude. It's a mix of all. And so I guess just hearing you talk, it made me want to just highlight that your relationship with God doesn't have to be glorious. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're going to give me this.
Yeah, it's not a genie in a bottle.
No, at all. It's really just like that conversation. And one of my closest friends taught me that. She struggles with depression on and off. And she's one of the most Christ-like women I've ever known. And she's staying 10 toes down on God every day, on Jesus every day, you know, but will be the most unsatisfied woman you'll see that day. And, you know, she's getting better. She's being saved. She's realizing a lot of lies that the enemy tells her. And she's separating herself from that. But her faithfulness to staying and being and crying, weeping with God every day and journaling with God every day is just, like, it's literally so admirable, you know, from someone who doesn't necessarily struggle with depression. I'm more of an anxious girly, but just someone who it's hard for them to get out of bed. They still have their little energy is going to God, even if it's just a little. So
right, I love that.
Oh yeah, she's a whole phenomenon within herself. All of my friends are,
and I love that you can recognize that.
Yeah.
For that sake, I definitely, I have close friends that definitely keep me grounded, and you need that. Like, especially, even if it's on like different levels or different journeys in life, like, you need a collective of people.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be alone. We're not supposed to do this thing by ourselves. Like, life does not call for us to be in fear or just be in isolation from people. We need each other.
Yeah. You know, and just even with family, it's not, for me, it's different, right? Because I have this certain level of vulnerability with friends, but then I have a certain vulnerability with family. Like, family known me at my rawest. I mean, I'm literally a kid, you know, growing up in the same household. But then there's also parts of me that they don't know because they weren't with me in college, or they weren't with me in these transitions, but my friends were. And it's not saying there is any neglect going on, but I think there's just levels of connection that maybe my life was meant to have, or maybe aren't ready to be connected because of certain things. Maybe I don't know, or they don't know. You know, have you ever heard? Yeah, like, have you heard of how you see your mom in a different light when you start having kids?
Yeah, like, and that I love that too.
Yeah,
the phases of life, like, you won't know until you get there.
Exactly, and I definitely think it's one of those things for me. And, you know, just even speaking that out loud, I feel like I had a sense of relief just saying that, because I feel like there's a part of me that beats myself up for it. What do you think? Is that something that?
I mean, I think we beat ourselves up all the time just because, again, the expectations of like the world. But it's like, to be able to see your mom in a new light, like, especially you know, with the passing of your grandma, just like even with me, like I had to see that too, and that goes back
And
to
your mom.
right. And that goes back to me being like, you know, when you don't get to talk about certain things,
yeah,
it carries. Like, and especially imagine like if you're holding on to some hurt or whatever that somebody did and they passed away. It's like they're gone. You know what I'm saying? They're transitioned to another place. You're still here to deal with that every single day. So it's like, in order for that to even be, you know, a thing, it's like, hey, I gotta deal with this. Yeah. Let me talk about this. Let me get this off. And I feel like the Black community just doesn't.
Struggles to talk. It's a struggle to talk. It's a struggle to get even the conversation rolling, you know. It's
without offense or without like judgment. And it's like, no, like that. And we have to also look at slavery.
Right, there's no blaming of one specific person at all. I think it's just literally how we were, I don't even want to say bred, I guess conditioned to be from our history, and it's not that far off. So
as much as we like to think
exactly, it's not. Very much feels very close. Like Aunt Bert, you know Aunt Bert?
Right, Aunt Bert.
She's literally about to be 99 in August, and she can recount
several things,
and
it's
from
like what?
No, and that alone should tell how close we're still to that. You know what I'm saying? And how there's certain habits that are gonna be there because of the conditioning that we had as Black people.
Right.
So
and that ownership of like, yeah, this happened, you know, like it's nothing to be ashamed of, because that's what makes us so resilient. That's what makes us like able to stand on our tens and be like, hey, look, we're gonna get back up, we're gonna try this again. Like, that doesn't hold us back.
Yeah.
And again, that's a perspective, because some people live in that victimization.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to be there. That's what the enemy wants.
And you know what healing says too? You don't have to be there, but I'll accept you just where you're, exactly how you are, exactly where you're at. You know, and be there and watch you, and I'll pray for you, and that change will happen. But I can't fix you. I can't change. No, I can't force it at all.
And that was a good point. That's where God comes in.
Yes,
that was good. That was good.
That's exactly where God comes in, because I'm not saying that you're gonna live like your whole life like this. It may happen, you know, but I'm just saying it's not my responsibility. You know what I'm saying? That if this is your way of communicating, or if this is your way of connecting with people and it's not working, it's not my responsibility to like change that or fix that. I'm gonna love you through it. I'm gonna, depending on if it's an elder, I'm gonna honor you, right? I'm gonna still, but I can't coach you. And that's someone who is so quick to coach people through everything, and it's exhausted me. Like when you said earlier, just doing everything for everybody, that was me trying to get everybody mental health right.
And especially, I know it's hard too, because that's your profession.
Exactly.
So you see it more instantly than probably anybody else can like pick that up.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey.
No, literally. But you know, Trevor Noah, he had a video of him saying he's very intelligent, and he also has a lot of like disorders, mental health disorders, and he said it beautifully by just, you know, how he stopped over functioning, because that's exactly what we're just talking about. We're talking about over functioning, and basically that's just doing more than what your acts are called to do. And he was like, I just watch it play out, like even though he sees it coming, even though he knows the facts that this is going to happen, this person's going to feel this way, and this is gonna like, you're not doing all those things. He literally just will sit in silence, sit and watch it happen, and not in a neglectful way, but God will tell you when to step in.
Right.
But oftentimes we take that step. Anyways, when God told us to stay put, or you know what I'm saying? So it's just, we just waste so much energy doing so many other things when we're not on our, we're not, what did you say? You'd be like, not a mission.
Our assignment.
Assignment, yes.
That ain't our job. That's not what we get.
Exactly.
And that, to learn that, it takes time. It takes, like, who better to tell you yourself than God?
Yeah.
And, like, but you actually have to be, like,
tapped in,
willing to hear it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, no, it's not to hurt you. Like, I remember, like I said, when I first moved to South Carolina, like, I vividly, like, remember feeling like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Like, who told me I was, and I honestly, I didn't even want to go back to South Carolina because that's where most of my trauma started, to be honest. And it's like, that mean I had to face every single fear, every single giant that I grew up, holding on to.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't say I wasn't ready, because of course I did it, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I had to have the conversation with those people that hurt me. And some people don't want to actually acknowledge that they hurt you, and you still have to be okay with that, and you still have to move forward. And that's something that it took me a long time to be okay with. And now I can honestly say, like, I've forgiven those people,